What's up?
D the Great.
What's good? What's good?
What's going on, man? Like you caught up in a closet of B&H.
basically, for sure.
First of all, we want to thank you for joining us.
Absolutely.
What we did last year, which was a colossal hit, was we interviewed Black photographers every day for the month of February, giving them their flowers.
Yeah.
And it was such a success. People asked us to do it again this year.
Yep.
And the first person that came to mind for the interview was you.
Yep.
So you're starting off the month of February. Thank you for that. I wish you had a sound.
Oh, wait, you told me not to.
Shut up.
You told me
not
to.
Whatever.
What's funny is I think this is the first time I've ever gone on Instagram Live, period.
Oh, so we're popping your cherry.
Absolutely. So here we are.
Well, I'm glad we're popping that cherry.
Ew.
Delish.
What is this?
Y'all funny.
So we only got you for about an hour.
Okay.
And we're going to get down to the nitty gritty. What I like about the way we do interviews is it's nothing formal. We're just sitting here and talking like we're having a phone call conversation like we normally do.
Yeah.
And let's start off with, who the hell are you?
Man, JD Barnes from Montgomery, Alabama, live in New York, Black photographer. You know, we out here.
How long you been in New York?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Of course. How long?
The thing keep trying to it don't want me to be here, but I'm gonna be here.
To tell you, get that Wi-Fi right.
You know,
get the Starbucks, man.
How long you been in New York?
No doubt.
Can you hear us?
Yes, sir.
How long have you been in New York?
I've been here 10 years. Actually, June will be 11.
Okay.
Nice.
So what got you into doing photography from a boy from Alabama who decided to come to New York? What was that
journey,
that transformation like?
Man, it actually started, I was modeling at one point. And back in Alabama, there's not a ton of photographers. It's definitely not like fashion photographers or anything like that. So, you know, like it really started off just like me and my friends. I would like Black Friday special, going and like getting a camera from Walmart, you know, and we would just go to like the park. We had this like big Shakespeare park. And nice. I try to like put some settings on it, and I just like, yo, just shoot a lot of pictures of me, and then like, you know, I'll go home and I'll play in Photoshop. This was like Photoshop like 6, 7, is like that long ago, you know, and I'm trying to like figure stuff out. But yeah, you know, started from there. There was a minute while I was, you know, still trying to figure out whatever modeling was going to be. I was a guy that was in the club, you know what I'm saying, with the camera, with the flash, you know, with the little printer, you know what I'm saying, taking club pictures and stuff like that. When I was in college, you know, I would do headshots because I was a part of the theater program. So, you know, actors, they always need headshots. So, you know, I'm just like trying to do that, you know, to the point where, you know, at my school, like, my bros, they nicknamed me Kodak. So
okay,
you know. You can call that first. We gonna call you Kodak.
Yeah, for sure. So from there, came up here, really kind of on a whim. Came up here, did the modeling thing for a couple of years. Was able to go to London and Milan doing that, which was a cool experience outside of being perpetually broke. And when I really went to London, that's when like I really like tapped in deep to like photography. It was just like, you know, this modeling thing, I'm over here, but I'm not enjoying it. You know, I think at that place, like photography kind of started to surpass modeling as far as my enjoyment. And since I was already in like a fashion, you know, modeling kind of career, you know, for me, fashion photography just kind of like made sense.
So let me ask you a question then. You were shooting in Alabama, correct?
Mm-hmm.
who introduced you to the camera? You said I played with the settings and started shooting. Who introduced you to these settings that make you go, okay, I'm going to shoot at 4.5 as opposed to f8? Who gave you that knowledge?
You know what, man? Like, I'm not gonna lie to you. It was a lot of like YouTube University and books. You know, going to Barnes and Noble, getting a photography book, things like that. A lot of trial and error. You know. More trial and error than probably anything, you know. If you do something enough, and you have some sense of aesthetic, you start to, you know, kind of get to a place where things start making more sense, you know, and you start realizing like why this isn't necessarily coming out like I want. You start realizing that, you know, your friend shooting you and then you taking it back to Photoshop, like there's still a huge chasm of like what you think you're gonna look like, and then like what the image actually comes out, you know, to and you start trying to figure out like lighting and like angles and, you know, shit like that. All that's obviously harder when you're dealing with like a blister pack camera, you know, a 10x zoom, 10 megapixel, you know, and your friend who doesn't have any idea of how to really be a photographer, they just shooting for you, you know. It's a lot of trial and error. But, you know, one thing that I did like even about those experiences, and then, you know, moving forward and being able to shoot with other photographers, you know, in the area, they always, for the most part, let me see all the images.
Okay.
So, you know, like that allowed me to kind of see what I was doing wrong as far as like modeling. But, you know, modeling and photography, like they meld together well, you know. So at the same time, I'm also still thinking in a photographic, you know, way. So I can see what they were doing to get these kind of shots, you know, what they were doing with the light or things like that. And even when I came here, went overseas, all those things, you know, as I'm modeling, I'm also paying attention, you know, to the lighting, to the angles, to things like that, and trying to get little tips.
Chico.
For sure. No, 100%, 100%, you know. I think that made the transition a lot easier. But just, you know, beyond all of that, just like really being a student of the game, you know. I didn't want to be mediocre.
I want to know about London. You said when you got to London, you really honed into photography. So what about London was like, oh,
what was the catalyst?
What was the catalyst? What inspired
you?
You?
Being super broke all the time. Like, shit. It's funny because one of my old roommates is actually in the chat. Her name is Raquel. But like, we was in this flat, man. Like, we was struggling. Well, I was struggling. You know what I'm saying? Like, jobs weren't really coming in. I didn't know what I was doing wrong. You know, no one had any answers for real. It was just kind of like wait and see.
And they were always telling you, go to London because they're gonna love you out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Like when I left here, it was definitely like, you know, that. And like broke to the point of like there was this market kind of like across the street. I had just enough money to like buy a big potato and like maybe a can of like corn. And I just put that shit in a pot and mashed the potato up and eat off that shit for like 3 days.
3 days.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it was like that. Like, it was like, am I going to this casting or am I going to eat? Because
walk to this casting.
Man, we were so far out, there was no walking. Like, we were miles outside of like where castings and shit was, you know. Like it was bad, bro.
So
it was bad.
Starvation was the catalyst.
Photography,
man.
Because I can thank potatoes and corn that made you the photographer you are today.
You know, like it was a lot of free time.
Okay.
That's what it was. Like we were so far out, it was not like it wasn't fun to like go to clubs and shit. So like the nighttime wasn't spent like clubbing like most models do, shit like that. Not for me. You know, this was kind of before Uber, so like it was night buses. Anybody been to London? You know, it's like after a certain time, the train shut off, the bus, and it's just like, man. And we were so far out, like
What part?
even on the best of circumstances, it's taking you 2-3 hours to get home. So when going out, I had a lot of time every day, you know what I'm saying, to get on YouTube, to take some pictures of my, you know, flatmates, you know, things like that. Take some pictures of some of the other models, and, you know, just like trying to take pictures. All I had was, you know, the little handheld flash, shooting it off the ceiling for a long time.
Light
And, you
is light.
know, light is light for sure, you know, or, you know, using windows, things like that, just trying to get a feel of it. And yeah, I
Wow.
mean, you know, it just a lot of I can't stress enough, like
So
a
let's take
lot of
the
trial
starving
and error.
photographer to shooting Joan Smalls.
uh,
What was that transformation like? You don't just eat potatoes and corn and then you know you're shooting a supermodel. How do we get there?
Honestly, man, like not cheating the process. That's how you get to that's the best answer I can give you. You know,
Oh,
like
I
not cheating the
respect that.
process.
I respect that.
Um,
Respect that.
I
Respect that.
put more than 10,000 hours in for sure. You know, and all those are hours that I wanted to put in, and all of them weren't like necessarily in a super driven way. Like I had this singular goal. It was quite expansive, and just over time you just kind of like whittle it down to like, okay, this is what I like this aesthetic, you know, and just trying to move forward like that. I went through a lot of transformations of aesthetics, you know, just trying to really figure out what you like. And, you know, sometimes like figuring out what you like can be almost like happy accidents, you know, like you
Yeah.
just do it, like you just trying shit, and then you hit with some light, and you're like, huh, I like that. I like how that feels,
Uh-huh.
you know, or,
It
you know,
still
like
goes
going on
on to this
Instagram,
day.
you know, going on Instagram, and, you know, you seeing some of the legends or some of your older contemporaries and some of the things that they've done, even some of your newer contemporaries. You know, I'm constantly being inspired by, you know, new work, gleaning, you know, trying to pick up things that I can, and continuing to just, you know, shape the aesthetic, you know.
Okay.
So
So let's
even to me now, you know what I'm saying, it's probably not going to be the same shit that I'm shooting a year from now. You know, it's a constant just trying to
It's
continue
growth.
to evolve.
It's growth.
So we got you in London, and now we got you back in the States. What happened that made you now you realize this is what I want to do? Because were you in Alabama saying to yourself, I want to be a photographer?
When I was in Alabama, it was model 100%.
Okay, so now we got you back in New York, and now it's like, I want to do this. Because now you're in the mecca of photography and fashion. What happened? Like, who did you go to? How did you learn? Who did you study under?
Yeah. Who's your
Who were your mentors and your inspirations?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, man. Like when I got back to New York, there was a lot of, you know, struggle, especially at the beginning. But I don't want to call it luck, but it was kind of luck, you know. I can't remember exactly how, but some way somehow I was put in contact with this guy who had a struggling studio on you know, West Street.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it started off as just like, hey man, if you can just come through and like paint and like clean up, you know, like we'll give you studio time. All right, cool. Now, mind you, up until this point, I didn't know shit about studio, nothing. I had some of those like, boy, like Amazon lights, you know, the ones with just the dial in the back, and the mount don't fit nothing except these
Right.
proprietary little soft boxes and shit, you know. So like that's what I had. But you know, through that space, I was able to meet some like really amazing people. Not gonna lie, you know, and I've told you this before, you know, like your what was that pack? Dynamite pack that you had there, because you
Oh, the
was
one
there
that
at
had
that
the
point.
Beatron.
Your Speedotron, yes, your Speedotron
I
pack. I
left
was
those
definitely,
Speedotrons there for you to bang out.
yo, I was definitely, I felt like I was sneaking in the locker, trying to pulling it out, trying to make sure I ain't break it.
I brought those in for you guys.
Yeah,
Man, so appreciate that. So like using that, not knowing what I was doing. Honestly, you just turning dials until the light came on, till a modeling light came on. Take a picture. Trying to figure out like, oh, this is super overexposed. Let me figure out how to turn it down. There was no manuals to this shit. It was none of that. You just trying to figure it out as you go.
So you entered a creative space that was allowing you to grow as an artist.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And I use that shit, to my utmost. I ended up being at that space and around that space for probably I feel like 4 or 5 years.
Yeah. It was a great space. It really was.
Yeah, I remember
it was
one time at the studio because we were out and I was like, "Who's him?" He's like, "That's JD. He's dope." And I was like,
"Yeah, I did tell me
what his
dope.
work? Yeah. What his work look like?" And I was like, and he showed me the work. I
work went shit then. I was trying hard though.
But believe it or not, the work it was you had
the foundation, the bones were there.
You had a voice. It wasn't like you wasn't trash.
No, you wasn't trash.
There
was some trash photographers there, but you weren't one of them.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Like dope. No.
So now we're at West Street. God, that was like 100 years ago. So we're at West Street. You're developing your skills.
Yep.
And where did it go from there?
Okay, so West Street, I did a tremendous amount of development there. I learned a lot about light. Shout out to honestly, Jimmy Sweet, who was the owner at that time. Like Jimmy gave me a lot of access to lighting and things that I would have never been able to afford myself. Modifiers that I never would have been able to afford, and just a conversation, things like that. Also, then my brother Caviar Coleman, who's an amazing artist.
Yeah.
Me and him were there, just constantly pushing each other. And that's another thing. I think that like competition breeds a lot of growth. And people kind of look down on competition now, but believe it or not, whether it was Cav or I had another friend there, Lorenzo Holder, who's also a great photographer.
Lorenzo, wow.
Yeah. And then just like all the other guys who were there, sharing space, the other assistants who were there, we just constantly kind of just pushing each other, trying to stay, me, I'm trying to stay top dog, whether I was or not, that's how I felt,
Right.
So you just trying to continue pushing out work that, like people is looking at it going, okay, I see it.
I see
Absolutely. And even with that, changing styles, I went through a period, I was just shooting in front of the window, at like f1.2, like every day. I was just getting models and shooting in front of the window. Shout out to all the agents that gave me models and pictures that they probably have never seen because they weren't that good. I wasn't gonna give them trash work.
Right,
so it was just like I don't know what to do. All the makeup artists and hairstylists that all of that. But all of that helped the growth and the progression. To get to a place where the work can somewhat stand on its own.
So let me ask you this: you being a model, did that help you with your understanding as a photographer?
Absolutely, man.
Why?
Because if you're going, and I mean this is something that even when I'm working with models and we really have a good relationship, I try to send them all the images, just the proofs, or we'll sit down afterwards and go through all of them, because I feel like they feed into each other, at least if you're present in the moments, and I'm a thinker. So I'm constantly present through a shoot. I can go through pictures and I can remember what I was thinking about, what I'm saying, during the shots.
Or sometimes you do the, I have this feeling, I remember what I was feeling, then we go to that photograph.
Absolutely. Yes. Exactly. And then you can see what worked and what didn't.
Right.
you know, and then you're paying attention to, you know what I'm saying, like where the photographer is setting up, like the angles, you know, and you're looking at the lights and you're trying to see, like, you know, maybe this light is high up to the left, so I know I need to turn this way. I need to, you know, maybe put my chin up a little bit, you know, it's things like that. So, you know, you start seeing the correlation, you know, between like my movement and what comes out on the other end. And then when you switch sides, you can direct a little bit better, and you know what can work and what doesn't work, and you can, you know.
Excuse me. Let's throw some models under the bus. No, not like anyone particular, but what are some of the biggest? What are some of the things you hate the most that models do in a photo shoot? Since you've been on both sides, like I hate when models do this.
You know what? I think what I hate the most is when a model doesn't commit.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
That's really, really deep.
Like, and this is a part of the reason why, like, I don't particularly always enjoy shooting celebrities, you know, because the commitment process is like integral to actually taking a photo. Yes. Like actually capturing an image and not just taking it, you know. And like when a model commits, when a model is like not afraid of looking, you know, a little crazy, not so pretty, you know, things like that, that's when you get like real shit, you know. When their heart and soul is into the, you know, situation. And I can always tell when they not, you know, I always, you know, it's something in the eyes and it's something in the movements, things like that. The same way I can always tell when a model is, you know, like willing but tired, you know, like there's an energy drop even when you want to go, you know, you can see it in the eyes, you can see it in the face. Yep. Like people start,
it just feels different. It's a whole
people start taking shortcuts. Or they get stuck in certain like movements, you know, over and over again. Like they're no longer like feeling the clothes, they're no longer, you know, feeling the light. They're just trying to do what they think they need to do to get to the next shot. Yeah. And it's like the process is just as important, you know, to really feel it, to really enjoy it, to really, you know, encapsulate what that photographer is looking for, because that's the great portraits, the great, you know, shots that we look at even to this day. Some of them have been captured 40, 50 years ago. Like there was a level of commitment. There's a tension or an emotion in the face that, you know, makes you sit on that picture and wonder what they were thinking about.
What was going on? Right?
What was going on? What's the story behind this shot? Yeah. You know, Helmut Newton, and, you know, like there's stories there. You know, Peter Lindbergh, which, you know, y'all know I love Peter. Yeah. But there's something there that isn't necessarily something you can touch, but you can feel it.
Yes, exactly.
You know,
that's like that discussion where you can't tell the difference between a pretty girl and a model. It's like there's something intangible in that moment. There. I couldn't put it in words, but once you see it, you know it.
Yeah. I wonder this. You said not only there were photographers that grew you, were there any other like photographers that mentored you that you like came up under that you want to shout out that we should know about?
Man, I'm not gonna hold you, bro. Like there wasn't. It's funny because, you know, on Clubhouse, you know, we always talk about mentors and mentees and things. Mm-hmm. I ain't really had that. You know what I'm saying? Like there were people that I admired for sure, you know. But as far as like, I'm gonna take you under my wing, I'm gonna work with you, I'm gonna teach you the ropes, you know, I didn't really have mentors like that, you know. Probably the closest approximation may have been like Jimmy, you know. But beyond that, like, but see, me and Jimmy's work is so worlds apart, different, that it's hard to really, you know, call him a mentor. He's a friend, and he taught me. Well, I can call him a mentor to a degree, but just like we talk about, you know what I'm saying, like certain mentors take you to certain places, you know, and he taught me how to use light, how to the technical aspects and, you know, things like that. But then I had to take that and I had to form a lot of that like myself. He also taught me a good way of like reading light. You know, like, you know, sometimes we would look at books and we would look at images and try to deconstruct how they, you know, made it. So you start paying attention to, you know, shadows and, you know, hard, soft, and like distance and things like that. And then you can like put those things into, you know what I'm saying, like what you're trying to do. But yeah, beyond that, man, I didn't really have mentors, man. Like, it was a lot of trial and error. It was a lot of solo missions, you know.
Nice.
So let me answer this question. A lot of trial and error, a lot of solo missions, a lot of you figuring things out got you to Essence. How? Crazy questions, right?
You know what? Essence, to begin, I took the leap of faith, you know, and I emailed the photo director that was there at the time, you know, and it took them a couple months to actually get back to me. So I had emailed, and I had almost forgot that I had emailed, you know, and then they had got back to me, and it was, you know, we would love for you to come in, bring your portfolio. So, you know, loaded up some images on my iPad, brought it in, showed those images. The creative director, who's still there, she came over and looked at them, liked what she saw. The editor-in-chief, who was there at the time, still one of my absolute most amazing friends, Moana Lu. She saw my work. We had great conversations. But I guess the funny thing is kind of afterwards. So this was close to the end of the day. So as I'm leaving, Moana's leaving out. So we go down in the elevator together. And it was like raining cats and dogs that day. I ended up having a umbrella, and she didn't. So, you know, being gentleman, you know, umbrella out, walked her to her car, you know, or walked her to a train, whatever it was, you know. So we got another like 5 minutes of conversation that wouldn't have happened otherwise. Yeah. You know, like, I was able to understand her a little bit more. She was able to understand me a little bit more, you know, ask some questions that wouldn't have gotten asked, you know. So, all right, cool. Fast forward some more months, because this was like maybe in October, November, and then it wasn't until I think February that they hit me up to shoot something. And unfortunately, I was out of the country, so I couldn't do it. But thankfully, about 2-3 weeks later, they hit me up to shoot something else, which was Lizzo. So Lizzo was my first Essence, you know, shoot, and did that shoot.
How you enjoy it?
I loved it, you know what I'm saying? Because, like, that was like young Lizzo, you know what I'm saying? Like, Lizzo didn't have number one yet, you know, which was dope, because she was so laid back, so chill, so willing to do what needed to be done.
That's one of her most magnificent photographs.
Yeah,
I have to
appreciate it.
It felt like that time she was photographed by a fashion photographer.
Yes, it was as if she let herself go.
Yeah, it was fun. When I remember looking at it, like, oh shit, it's fun.
Yeah,
I really feel like we was able to establish some level of trust, you know, once again, and then like she you know, she committed as far as she was willing to go, which was far, you know. And we were able to really create some beautiful work, some beautiful imagery. You know, I feel like I was fortunate in that regard. So then that happened. That led to me shooting my first cover, which was with Alicia Keys, which was cool. And after that, you know, me and the creative director, we ended up having a conversation one day, just kind of like talking about, you know, how work was going, some things that could, you know, maybe be done differently, et cetera, et cetera. And that conversation ended with, you know, I'm gonna bring you into the office. I'm gonna let you talk to Moana, and, you know, you should tell her some of your ideas. And then that led to, just off that one conversation with Moana, she was like, all right, I'm gonna bring you in as like my director of photography. And I was like, what? Like, I didn't enter, like, I wasn't going in for an interview, you know what I'm saying? Like, I was, because you know how we are, we ain't trying to do corporate shit, you know, like, that ain't really what, that's not what we trying to do. But Moana gave me an offer I couldn't refuse, so it was like, all right, let's do it.
I remember seeing you do the all the stuff for Essence coming up, and I'm like, this shit is legendary. Do you understand? Essence is the black magazine,
right? The black pinnacle. That's our Black Vogue.
Seeing somebody who I had known, and it's like, oh shit, he's doing this. This is crazy. So for me,
and I was like, he's all right.
I always lose my shit whenever I think like, damn, like this is history. This is history. This is I know him. I know him. This is crazy. I don't know. Essence is a legendary magazine, and it's ours. So it was like, this is amazing, and I don't know.
And you're up there with some other because they really started vamping
elevated.
They started vamping their black artistry.
It stopped being
about people trying to make us. You know, I'm gonna let this white person shoot me, but now I have a person of color who I can connect with and who gets it.
It felt more fashion based than it did portrait. Right. It wasn't like, it just something about it just changed. And it was like, oh shit, what's going on here? It just felt different. It felt like it could compete.
But the magic when you have black artistry together, we can all be in a room and we can just look at each other and a whole conversation can be had that you can't have with somebody who hasn't been through our experience.
Yes.
So you could look at Lizzo and there could be a crazy creative director in the room and you just look at her a certain way, she looks at you a certain way, and a whole conversation's been had.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. And you know what, like, even when I shoot celebrities, like when I am able to get some connection with them, it's a lot of eye contact. It's a lot of, early before the first shot, me coming up to them and just like, let's do this. Trust me, I got you. I ain't gonna let you look crazy. We ain't gonna run nothing crazy. Just like, trust me.
Right.
And when they do that, then like we can rock, and like that's the point. So what you were saying about Essence and just like how they had started to evolve, I have to give so much credit to the owner of Essence, Rich, who had at that point had recently taken Essence over from the company that it was under at the time, which was a white company. And like a conglomerate. So, Essence was really compartmentalized kind of before that. But also just a vision of like Moana Lou, you know what I'm saying? Like she is and was a visionary for the company, Essence was better when she was there. I'll probably get in trouble for saying that, but it's the truth. She was an incredible, leader.
It was
so creative.
It is a breath of fresh air. Like I said, it felt, I don't know, it just stepped up, and it was good to see you doing your thing. It was amazing seeing you shoot Joan Smalls. So let's start there. I want to hear that story. I want to hear all about Joan Smalls. I love her,
and she is all right.
No, she's not. She's incredible.
Joan is dope. Joan is dope, man. She's a beautiful person. We all went out and we shot in the U.S. Virgin Islands, St. Croix.
You see how you go into the story? You can't skip. How do we get there?
Yeah, you don't just wake up.
You don't just, we was on a plane and then it was like, wait. Time out.
I mean, we get there because of, honestly, prior relationships that I had, the hairstylist that did that, his name is Haas, black hairstylist who is absolutely incredible. And we've known each other for years. We've been through the mud together, but he's ascended to heights and I'm still trying to get to myself. That's the beauty about like working with certain people, working with teams, seeing them grow, because it's not always about, like just like you winning and everybody else like either staying at or below your level. Like it's about like you being able to see talent, and sometimes it takes that talent a while to catch on, but they catch on, and that's something that I am proud of, that a lot of the people that I work with have worked with and who I still work with have gone on to do like really amazing things. Almost none of them have gone backwards. They're all moving forward, you know, so that makes me feel like I knew what I saw when I saw them, you know, because like it's easy to get front runners, you know, people who are already popping, but it's like you got to get people who, you know, also are like at your level or below, and like you both come up together, you both create
Right.
together, you know, so that was something with Haas. So you know, like we had planned to do a shoot, an editorial, and you know, Haas was able to make some phone calls, you know, and get some people interested. And Joan was one of those people. She you know, she was in Miami. She flew down. It's a lot more to the story, but
It's all good.
Wait, I got okay. So it went like this. Hey,
I'll
Haas.
tell you that in person,
Wait.
Dave.
So hey, Haas, how you doing? And he goes, "We got Joan Smalls." What was that like?
Yeah, what was your
It was
feeling?
like I got Naomi Campbell. It's like what?
Well, like we had me and the producer for that. We were talking about models, and I had just kind of thrown out Joan Smalls. She was like, you know, you can have any model that you want. You know, it was Joan. There was a couple other names that I threw out, and you know, she was like, okay. So then I was like, I think I have a friend who works with her. Let me call him if this is something that could really happen. Let me call him and just see like if he know what her schedule is, etc.
That
So
talk means I'll try. We'll see. Yeah.
yeah, so he was able to call her. You know, things was somewhat open, and you know, like shit, we made that shit happen, and like that was just amazing.
It was incredible work. I'm a huge fan of yours and Joan. It was a good mashup of
yeah, because we're circling
artists.
her orbit as well, so we understand the game. We understand everything is played.
Shit.
You know, Joan is a consummate pro. You know, that's what I love. She has shot with some absolute legends, you know, and she has a lot of experience as it pertains to that. So after we shot, man, honestly, like I pulled her to the side and I was just like, man, do you have any tips for me? You have anything for me? Like, you know, she gave me some really good tips. And to this day, you know, I can shoot Joan a DM and she'll respond.
So
And, you know, she'll say something good.
What was one of the tips she gave you?
Be more confident, which was funny because usually I am very confident on the shoot, but I'm not gonna lie, like I kind of psyched myself out because it was Joan Smalls.
Yeah.
So I stopped talking. I just kind of just like let her do her thing because it's like you Joan Smalls. Like I ain't got nothing I could tell you.
Hey,
you know, like, you know what you're doing,
right?
You know, but she was like, no, I still need direction. It doesn't matter, you know, that I've got all like, I need to know what you want me to do. I need to know, you know, like what you're seeing. And I was like, after this, I'm like, fuck, yeah, I should have did better with that. You know?
Well, now you know.
But, absolutely.
I understand when you get with a particular level of talent, it almost reverts you back to being a child.
Yeah, that's 100%.
It's like, if you put in a room with Janet Jackson, I'm going to go back to control. Oh, it's absolutely. Like, oh my God. You can't help yourself. And you're like, wait, I'm the photographer. I'm the director. They're asking me for instruction. It's like, but you're Janet or you're Joan. So I get that. But let's talk of some serious stuff. As of the past couple of years, with the death of George Floyd, there's been a heightened awareness of Black artistry out there, in front of the camera, behind the camera, all across the creative field. Do you think that happened because of his death? And if so, do you think we're just a trend that's going to die away? Or is it the beginning of a new renaissance for Black artistry?
It's a great question. I've gone back and forth on that.
Gregory, how you doing, man? Good to see you.
So you know, y'all know, like I did my months, you know, covering the protests and things like that. So one of the first people that hit me up to like do an interview about that was Vogue Business, and you know, we did a story, and at the end of that, they asked me, you know, like, is there anything else that you want to say? And like that was what I said. I said, you know, like don't don't let this be a situation where you guys are looking for these black artists now because it's trendy and it fits a, a good story. I don't want to say narrative because that word is kind of overused these days, but it fits a good story. It makes sense. Um, but then when all of this dies down, it's back to the status quo. You know, I really wanted that girl to know it's like, or excuse me, that woman to know that a lot of the photographers who are out there in the streets, they're fashion photographers too. They're portrait photographers too. You know, they're out there because they need to be out there. They have to be out there. You know, it's like a duty. You know, and but like don't just big us up on this, and then like when it comes to like the fashion stuff, or when it comes to, you know, like things that can really, you know, push our own artistic narratives forward, it goes back to the status quo. So I think to answer your question, time will tell. I think for some of these brands, awareness is at least a step into the door. And you have to step in to be able to really, you know, own it at a certain point. It's almost like looking for a new apartment. You got to walk through the threshold to see if you want it. You know, so they've allowed us in, and I hope that allowing us in leads to them going, hey, you know, like, I know we brought these guys in because we needed to kind of, you know, fill this quota, but they actually really fucking dope.
They're fucking
you know?
good. Right, exactly.
They're actually really good. We actually really enjoy the process of working with these people.
And
you know?
it's sad that seems to be the exception and not the norm.
Yeah.
Why do you think that? Why does that seem to be the exception and not the norm? Because I know many talented artists, black photographers, hairstylists, wardrobe stylists. I'm seeing some great names popping up in here. We got Alan Cooley, we got Gregory Prescott. These are magnificent artists. And it's like, so I know we have Taurus Love, we have you, we have me, we have Day. We have Dana Scruggs, we got Tasia Jordan. We exist. So why does it seem like it's an exception as opposed to being something normal? You are doing your shut up now. So what do you think?
I think I think a lot of it is just like comfortability. You know what I'm saying? When you're working with people who look like you're comfortable. It applies the opposite way too. You know, I mean, like, when I work with black people, I can be comfortable. I can let my hair down. I can, you know, talk and share experiences, you know, that we know everybody's on the same page of. Even shit all the way down to like memes and stuff. You know, it's like, or you know, you can name drop a celebrity in just conversation and they know who you're talking about. You can play certain music and it's like free to play that music. You know, it's like everybody expect that kind of stuff to be played. So like, it's just more of a flow. And I think sometimes with our, you know, counterparts, there's a fear that it's not going to be the same way. And I use the word fear because a lot of times, like, what they think it will be like ain't even how it is.
It never is.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
not even
they
close.
think we gonna come on stage. I don't know. Like, someone probably think we gonna come in there and just like they're gonna be super uncomfortable and maybe we throwing M-bombs around and, you know, like playing crazy music or, you know, just like talking in vernacular in ways, you know, being aggressive, you know, whatever. Like all of these tropes that they have for us, you know what I'm saying? Like, they feel like maybe those things are going to get in the way of the production. Also,
but let me. Oh, wait. I like what you're saying. But let me ask you this: what does that have to do? What does that have to do with our excellence?
And that's what I was just about to get to.
Or lack thereof.
That's what I was just about to get to. I think there also comes, and pro photographers know this, like in those emails, in those, you know, EQ lists, in those bidding for certain, you know, jobs, what's your budget, you know, needing digitex and, you know, things like that. A lot of our counterparts, because they've come into the industry and the industry is accepting damn near from the jump, you know, like even as your work is getting better, the industry's still trying to accept you. It wants to accept you. You know, so a lot of the assisting opportunities are already there for, like, you know, established and bigger photographers. So like there's a sense of decorum and vernacular that you're already familiar with, you know, coming into your process of like bidding for jobs and answering emails. You already know certain editors, you know what I'm saying? Like they already know you, you know, things like that. Like there's a whole world, especially in fashion. There's a whole world behind the world that you're not going to know unless you're really in it, you know. And a lot of times these publications or these brands or these editors, like they don't want to spend the time to teach you this shit, you know what I'm saying? They expect you to know it. It's easier to go to an established photographer who's already going to make you feel more comfortable. They already know the vernacular, you know, they already know how to put a team together, you know, all of these superfluous things beyond just the shooting itself, you know. And that's the part that I think us as, you know, people of color trying to get into this industry, like we have to like get all of that shit together, you know, because like you just give us a camera and a subject, we can kill with anybody, but it's a lot of the background work, you know, that like we don't know how to do. We don't understand it because no one has taught us. A lot of our mentors maybe haven't been a part of that world, you know, especially if you go back, you know, 10, 15 years, there weren't a whole lot of black people that was in that. You know, so the next generation will have a much better opportunity than even our generation, because it is photographers now who like know the game, you know, and then they can teach, they can move that forward, you know. Whereas a lot of photographers of the prior generation, they were great, but they maybe didn't know the game, or the ones who did know the game, they weren't accessible. You know, there wasn't Clubhouse and Instagram and things. You say that again?
Or they were holding back information.
Or they was holding 100%. You know, I didn't want to say that, but yeah, I was trying to be politically correct.
No,
but yeah, you know,
this is real talk. Keep it real, man.
You're right. Yeah, I mean, like that for sure. You know, like, but that holding back information is also a construct of feeling like there can only be like one of us up here or two of us up here. So, you know, when you reach that place, it's like, I'm not about to groom the motherfucker that's going to take my place, you know, because you never feel like you make enough money to retire. And if you're a really good photographer, you ain't trying to retire no way. You know what I'm saying? Peter Lindbergh shot he was on the way to the shoot when he died. You know, so, you know, it's that crab in the barrel type. Nah, that's not even that. It's an elitist attitude.
Yes.
And, you know, like you see it still, you know, with certain editors, you know, and things like that. You know, certain black editors get to a certain position and they're not trying to like give back to the youth, you know, the photographers who are really dope and who need the opportunity. They want to go with the establishment, you know. And it's funny because like now I'm a part of the establishment, so it's not like I ain't mad that they going for the establishment, but at the same time, like, and I would say this even at Essence, like we need to shoot with some of the new photographers. We can't keep trying to go to the old heads. We need the new people because they have a different aesthetic.
Yeah, you still need the old heads who haven't.
Absolutely. Yeah. But you know, at that time we had 12 issues a year. That's 12 covers. You know, that's a plethora of stories. Everybody don't have to get a cover, obviously. It's smaller stories. But you know what I'm saying? Like, it's people who, to shoot for Essence or to shoot for some of these publications, it means everything to them.
Everything.
Yes.
And you know, start a career by that. Think about how many people started career. We spoke to Usai. His career started from, I think it was being an editorial for Essence. Mm-hmm. So it's like you start careers that way. So
absolutely.
It's not just about giving the photographers who've been around all the shine. It's about creating new opportunities for new photographers and new careers. Like, yeah.
And that's what I hate about like social media, you know, because a lot of these brands and a lot of the people, like, they're looking at the numbers, period. You know, so if all the work is within, let's just say, the 85th to 90th percentile, who am I gonna pick? I'm gonna pick the dude with 100K, 200K followers, you know, as a photographer. You know, I'm gonna pick the dude who has all of this, like, years of experience and things like that. I'm not gonna pick this dude at 5,000 followers, you know, who very artistic, and I can see that, okay, like, he gonna get there one day, but I'm not gonna be the one to get him there.
Which is crazy.
You know, and it's just like, sometimes, like, we need to get them there, and we need to put people in position around them to support them so that they can just be artists.
Right.
Yes.
You know, like, give them their strengths, you know. So there's a lot of things about this industry that, you know, still has a long way to go. We've come a long way, for sure, and I will acknowledge that, but there's still a long way to go. And at that same time, you know, we as Black and brown photographers, like, we can't be waiting on handouts either. We can't be waiting on someone to give us the opportunity. You gotta be willing to come in there and take that shit the same way.
Yeah.
Because that's why it's very important for us, for Day and I, to educate our brothers and sisters.
This is how this got started. It was literally,
this is all about education.
Teaching other photographers about other photographers. A lot of times they look on Instagram and find photographers. I'm like, no. There's a world outside of social media where stuff actually moves, and just introduce it.
And maybe you need to learn about licensing. Maybe you need to learn to understand the contract. Maybe you need to learn copyright infringement. You need these things, because if you don't have them, they'll take advantage of you.
And we were interviewing new legends like you, like Ahmad and Dante. Shit, we got an old legend too. We had Albert Watson.
Amazing. That's amazing.
New legend, Loretta Houston, and there's tons of photographers who need shine.
And they have to know that we exist.
Yes,
we're here and we're not going anywhere.
Absolutely.
So that's why we wanted to give you your flowers and let them know.
Because you're dope.
You're dope as hell. And they needed to know.
Appreciate it.
So let's ask you this question, because you only got 5 more minutes. This is for the gearheads.
Oh, yeah.
What's in your camera bag?
They always ask.
What's in JD Bond's camera bag?
Everybody in the crowd, I am scarred from being on Clubhouse with these guys. I already know what's coming. I'm gonna give a truthful answer, but I know what's coming. What's in my camera bag? My Fuji GFX 100. See, why are you looking like that? Why you do that? Why you do that?
Yay, Fuji! Yay, Fuji!
Look, man, I love my Fuji GFX 100. Fuji needs to pay me. Because the way that I talk about this damn camera, yeah, no, it's Fuji GFX. That's my main camera for most portrait, you know, fashion things that I shoot. But I also shoot with a Canon R5.
Nice.
You know, when I need something a little bit more faster pace, because there's not a tremendous IQ drop off from Fuji to Canon, but when Fuji hits, man, it's like nothing else. You know, outside of Hasselblad in phase 1, when it hits every 3 out of 10 shots.
Oh my God. So, what is your light source?
Right now, mostly I'm rocking with either natural light, Profoto B10s, or the Aperture lighting family for the continuous light.
Nice.
And one of our last questions before we let you go. Well, 2 questions. The first question is, what will you tell the JD Bond's first year photographer, knowing what you know now? What would you tell that JD?
Remember to not cheat the process.
You're about to make me cry.
That was perfect.
You're about to make me cry. And my last question, what advice would you give new photographers coming up today? Especially
Same advice.
It's the same advice.
The same advice. The same advice. And I know we don't have a whole lot of time, but like for real, like whoever's out there trying to get there, don't cheat the process, man. Like it's gonna take time, it's gonna take work. You know, if you decide to be someone's assistant, really commit to that shit. Like that, commit to it. Like for real. Like you're gonna spend 6 months to a year or 3 or 5 years with the same person. Commit to that. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is not I'm going to shoot with this person for an editorial, and now I know, or I think I know how to shoot an editorial, and now I don't have to do it no more. You know what I'm saying? Commit to the fact that everything isn't going to be about like, oh, I'm going to get this day rate that I think I'm supposed to get, but I don't really know nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like, nah, sometimes you ain't. Sometimes your day rate going to be food, or your day rate going to be just the knowledge that you get to allow you to truly pay for yourself. You know what I'm saying? Later on. Like, this is a process, man. Like, no one comes to the basketball court, picks up a basketball, and think within a week they're gonna be Kobe Bryant. Doesn't work like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so many times because of YouTube and because of all the other things that make it easy to learn by yourself, you think that you can just like look at some tutorials and like figure the shit out. You can figure out a lot of technical aspects, but the aspect of really learning yourself and really being great, you know what I'm saying, that it takes time. There's no way around that time. None. You know, some people are born with an innate genius, you know, that allows them to use iPhones and like Diana cameras and shit, and they make beautiful and haunting imagery, all of that. But even they need work, you know, because if you're trying to make money, there's some technical things that you have to do. We can all sit out here creating art, you know, and because art is subjective, can't nobody tell me my art ain't good. You know what I'm saying? Like, so we can all think that we great, but you can't substitute, like my boy Nariah said, you can't substitute time.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
right.
You cannot substitute the process. So don't cheat the fucking process.
Thank you for that.
Thank you so much.
So now what we're going to do is what we've been doing. We have to do a thumbnail. So we're going to do a thumbnail. I'm going to count to 5, and you're going to give me your thumbnail face. And you're going to hold it for 5 seconds. Are you ready for this?
All right, let's do it.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Yeah, it's always as funny to me.
Thank you so much for this amazing interview.
We finally got you.
We finally got you. And
you got it, facts.
For our Black History Month interviews, giving you your flowers.
Yes.
And you started us at a high note. Thank you so much, JD.
So much, JD.
Let's give him a round of applause.
Thank you guys so much, man. Thank you. And look, you know, the people who don't go on Clubhouse no more because it's lame and all that shit, like, it's not, like, it's still a really cool community of photographers out there. You know, I had went away from it, came back to it, you know, Real Talk for Real Photographers, like Dallas and Day host a room every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Like come in and talk, you know what I'm saying, learn some shit. It's fun.
Join the community.
Come join the community.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, JD. We'll talk to you tomorrow on Real Talk for Real Photographers.
For sure. I'll be there. Y'all be good.